Good evening. The time is 3:40 p.m, just 20 minutes before the market closes, and I'm just going to recap my trading right now. End of the day, decent green day, but it was hard work and I overtraded and probably should have walked away after my first or second red trade. But I took a couple of red trades in a row, and then I had a decent winning trade which got me back to break even. And then I just took another little trade at the end, and I'm going to go into that now. So on my screen is the 5-minute chart of the ES or the MES. And in my pre-market video I was watching for two real areas. I was watching for the break and retest of the pre-market high, and I was watching for a bounce at 49.58 and then a bounce down here at 49.34 in this area of demand. They're the main areas I was watching. So the first trade today was a bounce off of 49.58. I took a starter position at 60 and I added at 58 and I added at 56. So that kind of gave me a decent average price of 58. And I didn't have much drawdown on this trade. It was green and I was really waiting for the VWAP, and what I was really waiting for was the pre-market high. As soon as it touched, the pre-market low. As soon as it touched the pre-market low, I was going to get out of a quarter of the position, but it, as you can see from this chart, zoom in a bit more, it never made it that far. Probably should have really kept an eye on volume as well, but I don't really watch volumes immediately after the market opens. But you can see we had low volume to start off with, so low volume here, so there wasn't really much going on. Then we had this big volume bar, and that should have been the warning sign. I shouldn't have really got in, but I do look for the big bars down. These are where I'm looking for bounces, and you can see the bounce did work. I just didn't take my profit quick enough, and I should have taken some off of there and kept a very tight stop. But I didn't keep a tight stop. My stop was at 49.50 area, and which I'll just zoom out and show you why it is at that area. It was just below this area here, the pre-market consolidation, and from last week. And I thought if we break down below this area, I wanted to get out because the next area is a bit of a void down until we get down to this area of demand. So I took a stop with no profit. I should have taken something. Obviously I took something there. It doesn't matter. I took a stop. My stop was about there, around that area. And then I tried another long here. I saw a bottom tail on volume as well. And then the one thing I should have realised was reducing volume when price is increasing. So that doesn't really signify a reversal. It's more of a pullback. And I should have identified that, and it was putting in this bear flag, and you can see decreasing volume. And so again I was at green for a bit and it came down and I stopped out at the low, and that was 2 losses then. And I only added on that one, I didn't add on this one. I had a couple contracts, and then when we came down to this area, hit the demand. When it comes into this green demand area, I'm normally paying attention by that point, and we've already had the volume come in. We've seen a decrease in volume, but then something different happened. We had this wide range bar with volume, not as much volume as the previous wide range bars. So I knew that these sellers weren't as powerful as the previous selling. And then we had a slightly above, well, right on average green bar, 2 bottom tails in a row as well. And one thing I was looking at was the 15-minute chart as well. And you see from the 15-minute chart, we had a bottom tail, bottom tail, bottom tail, and what I really want to see was the break of that area for a long. And I did then get in long into this zone here, so my average price was down about 49.40. I had a defined stop as well, which is below, was originally below there. I moved it to below that candle. So that's my stop, just a few ticks below there, and I didn't look back. I added then on the break up here, so as it's coming up, I was waiting for it to break. This 15-minute candle was about there, and so I added again, and I just trailed it all the way up to the VWAP. So my first target was there, but it didn't quite touch, came back, came back in, hit my target, which is good, and then I then did take a little bit more off there, and I had regrets, and I added on this candle, so I've added back in. So I think I was out of the trade here actually, and then I thought, hang on, I don't want to be out, I want to be I want to be trailing the moving averages. So I got back in. So my end of day said I traded 8 times, but I'm counting this as the same trade, and I did that a couple of times actually. So I trailed up, added again when it broke up on this buy setup. I had a little mini pullback on this bull flag, and I got out on the VWAP, and I got out up here on this what do you call it, this downward trend line. So that's my trade that's done for. So this trade more than made up for the losses I made. I took slightly bigger losses because I let it run down too far, I got out too late. So that was more than what I really wanted. My loss, my stop should have been immediately below there, and I should have kept it tight, but I didn't. I added, didn't do very well on that trade, and then I finally got out there, and then I obviously bought there and stopped out. So, and then I got back in there and I got out here. So that's a decent trade. So that kind of made up for this losing trade. I was a little bit in the green by this point, and I was willing to walk away, you know, as almost better than green, better than a break-even day. And then I was watching what looked like a head and shoulders pattern setting up, and I went short there, thinking I was going to watch it run back down, and then again I was in the green for a bit, and it came back and it wicked me out on this one here. I had a quite tight stop, so a small loss there, and then I realised then we were just resting, we're going sideways, putting in a bit of a wedge pattern as well. So you kind of can see this setting up, and we're in a 5-minute uptrend, and so I got in on the break of that candle. I trailed all the way up, saw top and tail, top and tail, top and tail. I was watching the 2-minute as well, and when the 2-minute stopped putting in new highs, which was about here, I got out. So basically all of that was cancelled out by this trade, and the main profit, the decent profit of the day was this trade here. And again, I didn't have very big sizing, but it was spread out over 14 Apex accounts. It's a pretty decent green day, and that's it. And the reason I went long there was because we had this ascending wedge, and we're in an uptrend. You can see the higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. At the time, higher high. Didn't break the VWAP, so I'm putting that as a higher low as well, slightly roughly around the same area. And that was the breakout I was watching for. And we had to get over this volume as well, so I was waiting for it to break the volume, and could have made it safer by break, come back and got back in there for a retest, but I got in out of the top, and so I pretty much nailed the bottom today, and I pretty much nailed the top today. And it was a decent day, but I worked hard for it. Probably should have just walked at this point here, one trade, one loss, and walked away. That would have been a small loss, and because obviously from 10 AM all the way through to 3 PM I was still keeping an eye on the market, so it wasn't really a short day. I only want to trade from 9 till about 11, just a 2-hour day, that's all I want. But in fact I worked a whole day today, so it is what it is. But decent day. Volume wise, the other reason I got out of this trade is I saw an increase in volume coming in above average, and above average volume coming in and topping tails, so that's the reason I got out. And it's a decent out. So I basically played volume price analysis not very well here. In fact, I totally ignored it here. I'm a bit disappointed in myself, because this definitely wasn't a long, because we had decrease in price. It's a pullback, it's a classic pullback with decrease in volume, and could have got in there, stop loss there, and that would have been an easy 2-hour trade. Really easy 2-hour trade, 1 hour, 2 hour. But I was a little bit biased as well today. I was watching for a long play. In my pre-market video I said I'm watching for a trend entry as well. I wanted to get in there or down here. So, but I'd consider anywhere inside the demand zone Even though I marked the area out, I had a couple of levels in there, 34 and 28. But once it's in this area of demand, which is based on the hourly chart, then I'm looking for an entry anywhere in there. And ignore this trend line, put this trend line in afterwards once we found that bottom, just because I thought we might have just been doing that. And then, but we didn't, we broke out, and that's the other reason as well I went long here, because we broke this structure as well, broke the trend line. So we broke out, came in, and my entry was at that point as well, and so that made that. This was the decent trade of the day, the one I probably should have waited for, and you know, that's the level, that's the stop out. Probably, yeah, I'm not particularly pleased with my trading, but it was okay. I need to get better at handling my stops, because I was probably in a bit of revenge mode once I stopped out a couple of times, and I was looking for a trade. Had I been waiting for an A plus trade, that would have been if it got down to this level or this level, and I probably wouldn't have even taken this. So it wasn't really an A plus trade, and that's pretty much my day for trading. We'll look at NASDAQ. It was showing a bit weak. It was relatively weak compared to ES earlier, and then it was stronger. That's just not doing much as well. Nothing's really moved. Oil today. Oil, is that putting in a head? Left shoulder, could just be the head we're looking at now. Maybe we'll witness a right shoulder end of a move. If that's the case. I like to see them at the bottom of a move, these patterns. Keep an eye on that. Gold, pulling back up into a potential short on the cards. And then Bitcoin, I was just looking at earlier. Looks like it's curving around on the daily. Curving around on the daily there. Potential left shoulder, head. Is this the right shoulder? Who knows? Neckline. Want to keep an eye on. Okay, thank you for watching. That's it really. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 AM Eastern time, and I'll be going through my levels, what I usually do, and pretty much the levels work most days. Today was one of the days when it didn't, or it did work, but I just failed to take profit. I could have probably taken a little bit of profit as it pulled back, but I got a bit greedy. And we've got this area down in this area, even though it didn't come into that level I was watching, it came pretty close. So like I said, I don't treat these areas as lines, I treat them as zones. I'm kind of looking for that area there when I'm going along. Yeah, so decent green day, let down by overtrading and some bad executions. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.